I'm Olency, Wales. I'm 44 years old. I was born in a tiny state of India called Goa, and in 1981, so that was 44 years ago. So Goa is a good place to live in. I've been enjoying. Goa is seaside, so I live by the seaside. So I had lots of fun, cousins, family, almost the whole family was in Goa, and life was great. I studied in Goa, did my college in Goa, everything was in Goa, so never moved out of Goa for, since before I got married, really. So Goa is nice and warm, very hot, 32 degrees, and, life is like very casual, not the rest of India, where it's quite modern compared to the rest of India. So almost like British culture, and it's Portuguese culture really, isn't it? Because the Portuguese ruled over Goa before 1961. So Goa has more Portuguese, European influence rather than the British influence on the rest of India. So Goa is very diverse. So we have different religions in Goa. And it's just nice, and still is. The main religion of Goa is Christianity, and we have Hinduism, we have Islam, Sikhism, but majority would be Christianity because of the Portuguese influence. I dreamt of becoming something very famous, like, maybe study well and become like something to do with medicine or anything like that. But, I didn't get the grades and that dreams failed. So I just did my graduation in botany, which was just plants and, like to do agriculture and things like that because we had farms and things like that. So that my dream sort of was like, we just went with the flow later. My husband came to England in 2002, and he came down to Goa in 2004 to get married. We got married in December 2004, and then we just applied for a spouse visa, and he said we had going to England because he was living here, and that is how I moved. I just followed him in 2005, January. I was quite happy to live in Goa, really, and I didn't want to, but just to keep company with my husband, to stay together, otherwise he would have to come every year, I guess, or something. But at that time, visas were really easy, and he has a Portuguese passport, so it's even easier. It's European passport, so you just applied at that time and you would just get through. You didn't pay any money, so it was just easy. But I did miss Goa because my parents still lived in Goa at that time, and I do miss Goa though. I didn't find Swindon interesting, and I don't know why my husband moved to Swindon, because when he first came to England, he went to France, he went to Paris. So because he had to speak French, he decided not to stay in France anymore, and he decided to come to Swindon. But Swindon is such a small place, isn't it? So he found somewhere to live with somebody who had moved to Swindon about 5 years ago before him. So he lived with them and shared a room with them, but I didn't find Swindon interesting at all. This is more like Bombay or like, a city life, because I lived in village in Goa. So, and I said, why did you even move to Swindon? But I've been here 20 years now, so I'm still living in Swindon. My first house was on 131 Manchester Road. So it was on Manchester Road itself, I lived with somebody. So we shared accommodation with somebody. We couldn't buy the first house. So I stayed there for about 2 months with a Goan family. Shared a room, me and my husband. And I said, we need to get a house. So we rented a house after that. The Goan community wasn't much. I think we had around 4,000 people, which was quite a lot. But they were all scattered around, mostly around the Manchester Road area, but around 4,000, that's what they said. And this we know because, there's a church called Holy Rood Church in Swindon, and this is the main church for the Catholics to go to. So that's how they know the census, like, this is the correct amount of people to, in Swindon at that time. We still like Indian food. I couldn't eat English food at all, even the mash, everything. Fish and chips is my favorite, by the way. So that's the only thing which I like. And otherwise, I couldn't get used to any other food. My kids like it, but I couldn't get used to it at all. All these spices are Indian. Yeah, everything is Indian spices. And we had loads of shops on Manchester Road. We had loads of shops on Broad Street. So I never found anything was needed, to bring back from Go or something. It was just good. So that's why I think we're still here. I had a good experience. So when I first came here, I looked for jobs. I didn't want to sit at home. So to start with, I started at a place, it's a supermarket, Lidl. So I worked at Lidl as a cashier, and then it was quite a good experience, but my accent was very different when I first came here. It was very Indian-y. So, and then, while talking to people, I knew words, they don't sound like that, and I learned from the people like that. But I had a very bad experience with a lady while working on the tills at some point, I don't know. And that was my first year in UK as well. So, and while I was working at the tills, I did some sort of mistake at the tills, I think. I still remember. And she called me weird names. She was screaming, and I started crying. I said, ooh, this is not what I expected. When the manager came in, he said that lady is drunk or something. So I said, oh, thank goodness the wider community is not like this then, okay. So, but that was a weird experience. I said, I don't want to work like this. And being, customer service was very difficult. Yes, I did face a bit of racism, I did think, because of my skin color and thing, and especially in buses when I traveled, I sat down on seats and people said, oh, can you not read? Because you're not from England. This is for disabled people only. But there was no one in the bus, so I sat on that seat. And I said, I can read. And he was like, well, surprised that I can speak English. I thought that was a bit of like, English people just talking to me. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Sorry, Taj.
So how have you improved your English then? What did you do? Because you're an educated person.
Yeah, I think English is just like speaking to other people. Working at different jobs. Since I worked in Lidl, I worked in schools, and right now I'm working at Horizons College. So we rented for about 8 years, and we thought we always will go back to Goa. My husband didn't want to buy a house in here. And he said, no, we won't buy. We had stable jobs and everything, but he said, we won't buy a house. We'll go back to Goa once we have enough money, but money was never enough. So we got a house in 2012. So that's, 7 years, after we came here. So we got our first home on Graham Street. Yeah, and it was for 110,000. Going to church is like a feast itself. So we're like going for, there's no food in there, but mass itself is like food. It's like going for food. So you dress up as a feast. So you dress up in good clothes. And back home, we never used to wear like jeans and things like that. You always wear like dresses or something, kurtas or something, men would wear formal clothes. But after coming here, people started wearing anything like jeans or whatever, very casual clothes and everything. So normally, when I first came here, I said, oh, this is nice. I don't have to wear. So whatever you wear at home, you just take it and you just go. But, sometimes I do wear good clothes as well in the summers. But winters are difficult because you just wear your jacket on top or something. I have seen Swindon change quite a lot. So in terms of housing prices, and there are so many shops that have gone, which while we were here, there were many different ones, especially in the town centre. It was buzzing when I first came here. And you didn't need to go anywhere for shopping. So town centre was like the main thing. And so it's changed quite a lot in that way. Goan community has changed from 4,000 people in Swindon. There are about 30,000 now, around that mark. So loads of people started coming into Swindon. There's many. So there are Goan events now taking place. There are about 4 churches in Swindon, which are Catholic churches. So we only knew Holyrood before, but there are now 4, which we didn't. Now people started moving to Walcott and West Swindon, and so all these churches are full as well. So it has changed quite a lot from. I just heard this just about a month ago, I think. Someone said this Holyrood church was about to sell, and it was on the market, and someone was about to buy it or something, because there was no one coming to it. There were very few Italians coming, and they were old as well. So it was about, because they couldn't afford, the lease and all that. And then when people started moving in, that's how the money has come in, and it's always packed now, because most of the Goans are Catholics. Because it's close to my place. It's not very, it's not very special as such, but it's close to where I live. I can walk up there. I don't need to park or take my car and anything. But I think living in England is the countryside. I enjoy quite a lot. More greenery compared to Goa. Goa is green as well, but it's the space that we've got, the parks for kids to play, and schools are free. We don't have to pay for primary schools, at least the government, these schools that are public schools, we don't have to pay for that. And even in college, you don't have to pay for much of the education. And NHS is free, so I think that's something that I really, it's good for us. I mostly value that people are very open, and it's quite diverse, and everyone stays there are different faiths and different cultures, but everyone's welcome. And human rights is so much important in this country. So it's you can't say anything to this person. If there's a problem at work, you can always go and talk to your managers. There's so much you can, no one, in India it was a different culture where you call, your bosses are your bosses, isn't it? So here you call your bosses by their names, which is quite unusual. I don't feel British after 20 years, and I don't want to disown my Indian passport. I could well get my Indian passport after 5 years, but my husband's got a Portuguese passport, kids have got British, and I said I want to go back to India at some point. I will at some point. So I don't feel British. My heart is in India, in Goa, I don't know. My home is there. I just work here, that's all I do, I think. Work, earn some money, enjoy my life, the standard of living, and then plan to go at some point. My home, I don't know, I've lived there, I've grown up in my house, the fields and everything just, it's just good. You don't need a lot of money to survive there. It's just the basics. But here, the bills, everything, it's just a bit stressful at sometimes, You have to pay council tax, you have to pay this bill and this bill, this mortgage, and it's never ending, but still, you don't need so much money. If you've saved enough, you should be able to live and go off. We both work, and we've got 4 kids at the moment, so it's not easy now as it was before to save. But, we just put away some money every month, and we go to Goa once in 2 years. So that's the money done for the flights. And then food is free back home, staying is free, so it's just the flights we need to worry about. So my mum is back home, my sister is back home. I lost my dad, so my husband's family is mostly here in Swindon. So it's my family that's in Goa. If I tell people, oh, England's not good, don't come, they'll say, you've been in England for 20 years and you're asking me not to come. But I do think, if you want to make the money, if you're not, make the money in a sense, have a good standard of living, I think England is a good place. And English is the second, it's the language which we all speak in Goa. So I think everyone should be fine.